Welcome, everyone. We will be having a discussion today with the lifelong learners and Adam Pohl, who is the president and CEO of the Alpena Chamber of Commerce. He and his staff handle economic development for Alpena and Presque counties, as well as support nearly 500 members of the Chamber of Commerce. Adam?
Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me today. I appreciate it very much. I love getting out into the community and speaking with people that, will listen. So thank you for the opportunity to kind of tell you about the Chamber, what we do, and what we're trying to accomplish or continue to accomplish, rather, in Northeast Michigan and Alpena and the region at large. So as was mentioned, the Chamber has a number of focuses. Our first and foremost is probably economic development. I will get to that area in a moment, but our other focuses that maybe more people are aware of in the vicinity are networking and education. So in that regard, I just kind of want to give you a quick synopsis of what we're going to be doing here in the near future. Regarding both networking and education and opportunities that present themselves if you or any of your members or friends or businesses want to join in. Starting with tomorrow, we are partnering with the Michigan Small Business Development Council for a series of business workshops. So they're going to be on varying topics. Tomorrow is actually right across the street from where we're at here at ACC regarding the task of probably geared more towards businesses of finding employees and the best methods. They're kind of looking at what's worked, what hasn't worked, and hopefully giving some tips to businesses that may be looking for employees. One of the things I hear from all our membership that I speak to is just finding people that want to work. They don't even care if they're trained at this point. They just say, hey, if you can give me somebody that will show up, that will be a step in the right direction. So in addition to that, we're going to be doing this series every 2 weeks. So our next topics include taxes and insurance. I know that's a riveting one, but nevertheless, if you're running a small business, very important. In addition to that, the following one is rising inflation. How do we combat it? Which is unfortunately a topic on a lot of my members' lips these days. So it's a topic we see a lot of value in. And then finally, one that I think we can all universally appreciate is freeing up cash flow. Just trying to figure out, what areas of your business or personal life potentially, but probably more geared towards business, of where can you find additional cash flow and how can you make your business have that much more, essentially freedom or opportunity rather, in the future, and just methods for that. So we are very grateful for our SBDC partners and them helping us out with that. But again, we want to present these educational opportunities. In addition to that, we do have a good midday Alpena. We changed it up a little. We're not doing only breakfast anymore. So this is a lunch on April 7th. And this is our topic for that one is marketing. So if you're interested there, we would love to have you join us. So. And then in addition to that, the educational piece, we have our leader cast, which we do every year. And we're going to have that on May 4th, again, here at ACC. They're going to be our gracious hosts, I believe. And we are very much looking forward to that. They always get really great speakers. They have 10 speakers from all around. I unfortunately don't have their names in front of me, but they always get very high quality speakers for that event. And this year they're talking about what do you need most? So there are going to be 10 different very renowned speakers speaking on that topic, and I expect 10 different very helpful and educational answers on that. So in addition to that, the spring is a busy time for the Chamber. We do focus a lot on, again, the events area when we can. So we are starting our fireworks fundraising, kicking off the end of this month. So I'm wearing my bracelet. There'll be a kickoff here, I believe, not this weekend, but possibly next, or I could be wrong on that. But either way, we're going to be starting our fundraising and leaning on our volunteers to really help us out and meet that goal. It's been raised a little bit this year because, like everything else, prices have gone up a bit. So we're gonna pivot and we're gonna make that happen so everyone can enjoy their 4th of July as we have traditionally. So we're happy to be a part of that in any way, shape, or form. But beyond that, looking more towards the economic development side, We are working with a number of community partners in the process of forming a housing coalition. One thing I hear from our businesses that do manage to recruit people is their new recruits can't necessarily find housing. It's been a problem. And having my mom moved up here about 6 months ago, trying to buy a house has been a task. So she has fortunately recently done so, but it can be exceedingly difficult for employees to find housing. So we, along with our partners, are looking at options to generate additional housing at all levels, not only income assisted, but also market rate, and just basically it's a need all around. So that is something we're working very hard on, trying to figure out. I know we've talked about a lot in my government relations committee about what simple steps can take to make it easier. And looking at everything from housing above commercial space to standalone single family housing to condos to senior housing. In fact, I was just on the phone with the developers for the Besser School. That is still in play, fortunately, and they're looking at different avenues to adjust for the additional material costs that have been had since that was approved, well over 2 years ago, because I was working at the city at that point. So they are still trying to move forward and looking at different options, and I think we found a grant program that should hopefully be able to help out, but that process is still fluid. So in addition to that, we are working on a number of economic development projects at the moment. My colleague, Mike Mahler, is juggling more projects than I have ever had to juggle myself. So he is a very talented man, fortunately, and he absolutely loves what he does. So we are still looking at relocating the bus garage, and I know Aldi is still very strongly looking at that location. Marshall's is still looking at a location adjacent to Meyer. There was a downtown hotel announced. I know they're still very much moving forward with that project. There's a lot of hurdles they still have to accomplish, so we'll see, but we're optimistic. We have Fish and Wildlife building that's looking to relocate from where they're at right now, so we expect that announcement very soon. And there are several others I'm not allowed to mention, but suffice to say, we have a lot of projects going on right now. And if I can, I'll be happy to answer questions on those in a moment. So we are also at this point, Target Alpena is kind of part of the chamber, and they are seeking a grant through the state right now for development projects for some of these, for development of new projects. It's going to be significant. It's something our organization hasn't done before. But I think that, traditionally we've left that to the city, and I was part of that process with the city, but it was very project-based. Now this is going to allow us to be a little bit more free with those funds and look at different sites that maybe we haven't been able to potentially look at in the past. So we're hoping that award comes to us. A lot of that is some of the COVID money that's coming through, and they're able to earmark it for development. So we're very happy to be working on that. So, and regarding one of the areas that we focus on with the chamber is really advocating for our members. Again, we have nearly 500 members at the moment, and we want to make our business climate as healthy as possible and have our members succeed at the best rate possible. So we work with a variety of, we have an alliance of Northern Chambers called the Northern Chamber Alliance. It's not really uniquely named, but nevertheless, it basically everything from the knuckles up, all the significant size chambers are a part of it, and we work together to really kind of put a voice for Northern Michigan. So that's everywhere from the Northwest Lower Peninsula, Northeast Lower Peninsula, us, and all of the UP. So we all work together, and we focus on different issues each year. This year, we're looking at housing, childcare, and broadband. Those are the main focuses. Obviously, we have a number of other focuses as well, but those are the issues that we thought we can really find some movement in, find some potential funding in, or advocate for, really get them included at the state budget level, and try to bring those services or expand those services because they're seem to be exceedingly needed in Northern Michigan. So we're working hard at that. Recently, we have had at the chamber we had the opportunity to have our annual banquet. That was an awesome night. We had over 500 people in a room in person at the same time, which was fantastic. We were able to honor our give a number of awards, and Citizen of the Year, Business of the Year, and many others as well. We were able to our Citizen of the Year is Ron Lemke and his wife, and we were able to just really acknowledge them for all the services they put in over the course of many years, and we appreciate that very much, as well as several other award winners, and really take the time out to celebrate all the contributions a lot of people have made. So we were happy to do that, and we're looking forward to doing that again next year. We had touched base regarding, well, one of the other things we do at the chamber that we really enjoy is military support. That's something, unfortunately, we haven't been able to do as much of as we wanted with COVID and everything happening in the world. We just haven't been able to have our usual welcome receptions or red, white, and blue review. So we have been in communication with the base, if I can talk, and we're looking forward to having our first welcome reception starting next month in April, and having them regularly through the year as visiting units come in. We like to welcome them to Alpena, kind of get them off base, have them see what Alpena is, and introduce them to whomever wants to from the public, including yourselves, whoever really wants to talk with them. And so we're starting those receptions. We expect to have dates and have that publicized, if I can speak, soon enough. But we're hoping that we can give those visiting units a warm reception, especially with all that's going on in the world. We want to make sure that we show our military support. And then to that end, and towards the end of the year, October, November areas, we'll be doing our red, white, and blue review, which is our big fundraiser, so we can continue that military support. And we always put together a number of acts from our local community. They come out, and there is some amazing talent in this community, and they put on quite the show. So we're looking forward to having that. That will hopefully be held on the base as we have done in the past. So that moving forward, we're happy with that. Or we're happy we can continue that process and not have that delayed any further. Beyond that, we focus on education as well. We talked somewhat about some of the business development seminars we are having, but we also are working with Alpena Public Schools regarding their CTE program. We assist with that, try to make sure that the things the students are learning are applicable to the business world, try to set them up for success, the students up for success as much as possible, so they have a good working knowledge of what businesses actually require when they get out into the world, and that they know the programs and the methods and kind of just a basic skill set. And from there, they can really focus on learning the technical skills. And then also we're helping out with the Marshall Plan grant as much as we can, which is basically connecting businesses to the students. So it is something we're very proud to be helping with, and we work well with, we try to work as close with APS as we can. And that's probably one of our lifelines for answering that finding employees question that we're looking at tomorrow, is really finding them from within, as well as from outside as well. But we really want to encourage the students here to have opportunities and have the best opportunities to stay here if possible, and join our workforce and continue to support their community. So I've just given a very broad scope of things we're doing, which is a lot in a lot of different directions. So I would love to entertain any potential questions or discuss further on any topics that you may have. And I will turn it over to that.
All right, so Olin has one question from online.
Awesome.
And his question is, you mentioned broadband. So my question is, how about the ARRA grant to merit a dozen years? To merit a dozen years ago that was supposed to get it built out all over northern Michigan. Did that phase get accomplished? And now, is there more to be done?
Well, there's definitely more to be done. I don't know, I wasn't here a dozen years ago, so unfortunately I'm not familiar with that particular grant program. That being said, I will say that Presque Electric and Gas just got a significant grant, and over the next 5 years, they're going to be building out their fiber network to every house they service. So that's covering a lot of counties that are underserved at the moment. I know the county of Alpena, they say they're 92% served. I question that number, to be honest, but I know there's still more work to be done in rural Alpena County. So fortunately, between PING and some of the efforts in Alpena County, we're going to be fairly well covered. There's always more work to do. Right now, this is a low-hanging fruit, this topic of broadband, because there's a lot of COVID money yet to be distributed. And basically, they called it infrastructure money, and infrastructure right now, broadband's the easy solution because the poles are already there. They just need to make the agreements and pay the price to hang the wire, or in many cases bury it. But ultimately, they're trying to move as quick as they can. And this funding, there's probably 5 or 6 pots of funding coming through at the moment. And it's hard to keep track of it all. That's my job with the Chamber Alliance, actually, is to try to keep track of all the various funding mechanisms that are coming down the pike or are readily available. And there's going to be a lot of progress in our area, and I think it's going to make a tremendous impact in Northeast Michigan, potentially because, as COVID has proven, if you have a good internet source, you can work from anywhere. And why wouldn't? And we have had a lot of people that move here that I've met personally. I don't have any statistics, but that have moved here and they work somewhere either downstate or across the nation, and they work from home and they just enjoy the Northeast Michigan culture, the lifestyle, and if we can get them internet, they can work. So in that regards, I think we're going to see a lot of progress in the next few years, but I don't have any information on that particular grant.
So I wanted to ask, when you were at the chamber dinner, you gave a little history of how you got here to Alpena. Would you like to repeat that?
I will probably not give the whole spiel, but yeah, I would love to talk about how I ended up in Northeast Michigan, Alpena, in the city of Alpena. Basically, I was born and raised in Grand Rapids. After having dealing with more snow than I cared for, I decided I wanted to go to school in Virginia at a Christian university down there, at Liberty University. So I did that. I got my degree, and then I came back to Grand Rapids briefly, and then I got my first job in planning and development in Waterloo, Iowa. So I spent 5 years in Iowa, and at that point, I had started my family and had my wonderful wife and three children. Well, it was 2 at the time. And we just wanted to get back to Michigan, wanted to be back to the areas where you had woods, water, and family, and you could actually put your hand in the water and see your hand as opposed to seeing mud. Iowa lakes are not really lakes, but in any case, Iowa was a great place. But we got back to Michigan, and we ended up getting the job offer here in Alpena, and I am told, under penalty of physical harm, probably from my wife, that I'm not allowed to move anymore, nor do I want to. So it works out very well, and we are very happy here. And as long as no one's chasing us with torches or pitchforks, you guys have to deal with me. So absolutely. So that's kind of my backstory, and I've been here now about pushing 8 years, if not 8 years. So I've spent 5 to 6 years with the city, somewhere in the middle there, and now I've been almost, I think, 2 years with the chamber now, just that, or I think the end of this month, 2 years. So exciting stuff.
Are there any other questions from the people on Zoom?
While you're looking, I have another question.
Absolutely.
You mentioned childcare. Can you say anything that was thought of or how that could improve?
At this point, getting the funding for childcare has been an issue. In fact, we had a new facility open here in town that just they had a interesting time or difficulty. I'm not sure how they would phrase it, but it took them a while to get the licensing they needed because of all the requirements. So it's really, we're working with the state to allocate potentially more funding for either childcare or regulate it to the point, or funding to help with the regulation to speed it up. So it's not quite so difficult to get a significant childcare facility, because this is an issue that is not just an issue here, although it is. I know that most, having a father myself, I don't necessarily need it, but I hang around a lot of other parents that do, and it's very tough to find childcare here. So it makes it difficult for somebody to have, if for instance, myself and my wife wanted to work, it would be very difficult to find childcare. So it is an area where we have a need here. Even in Traverse Petoskey area, the UP, there's just a lack of childcare that all our chambers have seen. And so we're trying to advocate. I know the governor put a pilot program through last fiscal year and has put some funding in this year for potential to increase the childcare available. I don't know if it's a number that's going to make a huge dent yet, but proving the concept is important just to show that this does make an impact. This does help our employees basically get to work, especially with COVID going on and things closing and they're not closing and whatnot. It's been very difficult to find reliable childcare, and that's to no fault of anybody other than protocols. So that's where we're at right now with the childcare. There is funding in this year's state budget, so we're happy to see that, and that's something we are continuing to advocate for at the Chamber Alliance level.
Part of the problem is all the regulations that.
I do. I having worked with this other company locally, the amount of regulations they had, I mean, it was the barriers to entry is just putting every door has to be fireproof. And don't get me wrong, I think safety is highly important, but there needs to be either some assistance available or something, because converting a building to be a childcare facility, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe even more in this case. So it was a lot of regulation, and I want to encourage safety at every level, and it also took a long time. It's done at the Lansing level, and I'm not 100% sure that's the best way when we have building inspectors that potentially could make it work here. So I think one way or the next, it needs to be a quicker process and hopefully a cheaper process.
Okay, Adam, we have another question from the computer.
Sure.
Is there any movement on the riverfront property, the former Alpena Power Company property?
As far as the movement goes, I mentioned that briefly, but I didn't specify that one. That was announced. There is a hotel looking at that site. There is movement in the fact that we have gotten the environmentals back. We've done some geotechnical, basically dirt work, figuring out what kind of foundations are needed. So they're in the process of putting together a plan on that, making sure everything's financially viable. And then I'm assuming, just because I did this with the last hotel downtown, there's going to be some additional funding needed, either through the MEDC or local abatements or something along those lines. And that's something we've done in the past and did with the former hotel. And I think one way or the next, within the next few years, you're going to see whether at that site or another, you'll see another downtown hotel get it started. That's
Okay.
just my opinion. I don't know if that's going to be true, but.
Anything else?
I could keep thinking of questions.
I'm game.
At one time, Alpena Furniture had plans for apartments or something at a higher level, and I heard nothing about that.
Ultimately, that was one of my first projects coming here, so that's coming back a bit. But they did have plans for apartments. They were looking at I think the low number was 10 units, and they were looking at additional ones, in addition to their facade work they had done on that building. In the end, it didn't. The numbers didn't work, not for any other reason than there just wasn't enough money per unit to build them out. So that number, the grant dollars available have increased. So that is still potential. But ultimately, there are no immediate plans for those at the moment, but that is still a strong possibility to happen in the future. But we can always use more downtown units. So I'm hoping that in the future that could happen. But in the meantime, right now, it's still a working display room for the Alpena furniture.
I know the chamber works with businesses. What do you do to facilitate a new business coming into town? Let's say there's a new restaurant that wants to come
Sure.
into town. What is the chamber's role in that?
Our job is to make it as easy as possible for them. If they have, if they're moving into a space where there was a restaurant previously and all the equipment's there and they don't really need much, then our role might be small. But our role might be quite a bit more significant. For instance, when Red Brick announced they were coming in, they worked closely with myself at the city when I was there to find the needed funding to really give that building a facelift inside and out. And we were able to help that happen and really just provide them with every opportunity. Our job is to make any potential regulation hurdles or monetary needs. Our job is to make that as few as possible and to encourage, the permitting process, whatever, to make sure that goes as smoothly as possible. If need be, we help them out with employment agencies or whatever as it happens. So really, our job is to help them as much as possible for any new business or existing business, for that matter. If they're moving or expanding or just general need of assistance, we try to. I always tell people that I may not know the guy you need, but I know the guy that knows the guy that you need. So we love when our members call us, and we love helping them out in any way, shape, or form.
There are so many buildings, empty buildings, like along US 23 South. And I'm sure you're aware of those. I mean, are you out there looking specifically for businesses to come in town where you think we need a need for certain ones?
There are certain businesses that we I have my colleague who he's cold calling various businesses to try to get them to relocate. And there are certain ones that we know have been successful in other Northern Michigan communities that we have reached out to, and we have said, hey, this would be great in Alpena. We call us if you have any interest. There's a space here. And I do know that 23 South has definitely undergone a number of changes the past few years, with Kmart being in the mall, being basically occupied by Omni now. I know that I think it's F and the Trap company. They're moving into the building on 23 South as well. They'll have their marketplace set up here shortly if they're not already operating. And there are a few vacant buildings though that there's potential for, and we try to maintain a Rolodex of those and make sure that we can connect anybody that's interested with a realtor, or for that matter, directly with the owner. So we handle that. We do cold calling, but that's a tough one, because there's a lot of people that have certain markets. We talk to a lot of developers that they say, okay, well, we have to have 500,000 people within 30 miles in order for me to be interested. So unfortunately, getting a Sam's Club, I don't think it's going to happen. But Target, they haven't shown any interest. We've tried, and I mean, those are real world examples of places we've reached out to, just to try to get some new options for us, because obviously with JCPenney's closing, there are needs for clothing. So we're working with Marshalls and trying to help that option out. But in the meantime, so there are specific areas and specific companies that we have approached, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a hold our breath and let's see. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't work, but some of them do.
You kind of mentioned it. Actually, one of the challenges was businesses finding employers or employees.
Yes, absolutely.
And then one of the opportunities, you said that you heard of people working from here in Northeast Michigan, like from downstate businesses or even across the country. What are some of the other challenges and opportunities that COVID has presented businesses here in Northeast Michigan?
Well, I will say this, that when people relocate here and work elsewhere, it's a double-edged sword. In fact, I jokingly tell my mom she's part of the problem in the fact that she has moved up here and she found a house, which is great and not an easy task by any standard, but unfortunately, that's one less house available for workforce housing. So we do have a lack of housing because a lot of people are retiring here. It's a fantastic place to live, but unfortunately, that doesn't really give back to the workforce. So ultimately, we are looking at reaching out and trying to connect potential employers with housing, and that's where we're really pushing this housing coalition and just trying to communicated to the state that what can we do to make this work, because the number of new units constructed has been lower than we'd like. So we want to look at creative ways, whatever that may be, to make houses available for the workforce. And we've looking at a number of things. We had a very successful program when I was at the city of putting in houses above commercial space, well, units above commercial space, I should say. And that can be continued, but unfortunately, there's only so much of that. So eventually we do need new housing developments.
Are we done?
Well, cool. I want to thank everybody for attending either in person or
Thank you.
virtually. And thanks for having me. I will love talking whenever you let me. So thank you all.